It is your prisonplanet.tv memberships that fund so much of what we do here on this operation. And then we're more than happy for the TV show after it's aired live, then be leaked out onto the web to tens of millions of people. That's our goal. Ladies and gentlemen, it is the 24th day of June, 2013. Thank you so much for joining us on this live Monday edition. And we're going to have open phones throughout the 3-hour broadcast and cover a mountain of vital news and information as we chronicle what the tyrants are doing and what the dumbed-down zombies are up to, and how that is basically being confronted by the expansion of human awakening that's taking place. It is the best of times, it is the worst of times, all at the same time here. Obviously, they are trying to pass so-called immigration reform. It is a 1,200-page bill that was only available Friday, and they are saying they're set to vote on in the Senate today and say they have 70 votes. The bill has now been scanned, and I have the mainstream news breaking it down. Basically, total legalization of illegals, cutting back the Border Patrol, extra welfare for illegals, just basically wide open borders. I mean, Mexico doesn't do this for Guatemala or El Salvador or Nicaragua, or if you go on down more south, Ecuador or Brazil or Chile. No one does this. No one, no other country acts or behaves like this except England and a few northern European countries who have globalists running them, who want to bring in political groups who can be organized. These groups can be organized into liberty lovers as well, but they're not going to be organized into socialist because they see the government as their friend. But the government's not their friend. It's globalists here that want to drive down the wages and who are waging war on any sovereign nation. Rand Paul's like, sure, let's have a path to citizenship and legalization for people that want to, go through a legal process. Let's try to even speed that up because it is hard to become a legal citizen here. 10 to 15 to 20 years. They suck all this money out of you. They make it where they don't want you to do it legally. They make it where it is to be illegal. More articles out where in one city, the illegals got $40+ million, $46 million in just 1 year of fake tax returns. Yeah, one household in Austin got $80-something million and then was left alone. That's because the household isn't getting that money. There's government mafias that use illegals to do it because illegals are known for not talking and not seeing something and saying something because they don't trust the government. And so if they're told to do these deals, they do them. They don't get any of that money, folks. They don't send $81 million to one house in South Austin to a family of 10 people. That money is sent by the government to them and then paid through banks and laundered out. But there's the latest. IRS hit $46 million in refunds to unauthorized workers at one Atlanta address alone. Notice they call it unauthorized workers, not illegals. They use the illegals as a black market group that they can use and abuse. That's why the illegals are above the law and drunk driving and all the rest of it, because they're owned by the global mafia. And they're like, no, the police, you don't get any beak-dipping little bites off these people. They belong to us. And if we want to use them in an illegal textile plant, slave labor in Houston, we'll do it. And if we want to kidnap their little kids, we'll do it. These people don't exist. They're ghosts. And the globalists rape them up one side and down the other, just like they do in Mexico and Latin America and Africa and Eastern Europe, and then say, oh, let's bring 30 million more in here. Prove you're not racist. Unbelievable. We're going to break all that down. The latest on the Snowden soap opera, the latest on the clear murder and cover-up of the murder, of Michael Hastings and what he was investigating when his car exploded, shooting the engine down the street. Stay with us. Ladies and gentlemen, it is Monday, the 24th day of June, 2013. I am your host, Alex Jones. We're going to be here for the next 3 hours, and I will take masses of phone calls, old-time callers, first-time callers, callers that agree, disagree. You've got questions, you've got comments. It's 3 hours of phone calls and news here today on this Monday transmission as we blast out on the AM and FM dial, simulcast on XM, global shortwave, WWCR, the podcast, the live feeds, the video feeds, everything at Infowars.com/show to find the free podcast, the free iPhone app, the free Droid apps, everything right there at Infowars.com/show and PrisonPlanet.com/show as well. If it doesn't go to that page, maybe we should redirect off of that and do that. Okay, here's what's coming up. Number one, I want to get into the whole extradition issue and how they're even threatening to divert the plane they thought he was on from Moscow that was going to Cuba. The sources, according to RT, in the United States government were talking about diverting the aircraft with F-16s to land it to get Snowden. And now there's all sorts of media demonization because it turns out that Mr. Snowden donated to Ron Paul. Surprise, surprise, he's a liberty lover. How evil. And you've now got mainstream news in the U.S. calling for the arrest of the American writer for The Guardian, Mr. Greenwald, who reported on the NSA information and cheerleading that, hey, let's start arresting members of the press. And where is the mainstream media when Michael Hastings' car blows sky high and his emails and tweets say the FBI's after me, they're going after my friends and family, I'm going into hiding, I'm going off the radar, and then his car blows up driving down the road, and we're not supposed to even say, hey, could it be foul play? Kind of like Breitbart. Within 45 minutes of him being at the hospital, and they announce no foul play, in the announcement he's dead, when no coroner even looked at him for a week, and then didn't make an announcement for a month. And they, day one, say, Hastings was a natural, death from the car wreck, not foul play. And they, day one, say Breitbart, who said he was going to bring down the White House and had the total bombshell coming out. It was all over. And then magically he falls down and dies. And then now the coroner that did the autopsy, WorldNet Daily is reporting, months after that we first told you that we thought that was the coroner that worked on him. Indeed, it was the coroner that worked on Breitbart, and indeed he was poisoned with arsenic, and now they're looking at it as a murder. At first they said, oh, he probably accidentally got poisoned with it. It takes a lot of it to kill you, folks. And, of course, that should have been looked at as foul play. You see, a lot of times they kill whoever knows what really happened. You're threatened, you're told, shut up. Don't talk about Breitbart's cause of death. And then they like to tie up loose ends. Then he dies. He's killed with poison. Here's our article, April 30th, 2012. And it's out in WorldNet Daily today that they're now looking at it. So again, ladies and gentlemen, the issue is they murdered Pat Tillman. They killed him execution style and then gave you a story that he died fighting Al-Qaeda, charging an Al-Qaeda machine gun nest. Al-Qaeda machine gun nests don't exist, ladies and gentlemen, unless they're being deployed by U.S. C-130s against enemies in Libya, Syria, or areas in North Africa. The only time there's an Al-Qaeda machine gun nest is when they're pinned down and there's U.S. air support bombing for them. Al-Qaeda was created by our government, the Israelis, Saudi Arabia, and the Pakistanis, along with British intelligence. That's on record. It was created by Jimmy Carter and Zbigniew Brzezinski. And Pat Tillman was murdered, and the coroner wouldn't lie in the Army. The Army colonel said, no, he was killed. He was shot at a few feet away, triple burst, or a 3-shot burst, across the frontal lobe of the brain. And then later the whole story came out, how they shot him from about 100 yards away. His body armor deflected a lot of it. He fell down behind a rock and said, I'm Pat Tillman. I'm part of your unit. He stood back up and waved his arms, said, I'm friendly. They shot him again. And then they said, everything's all right, Pat. Now we understand. And they came up and he said, why'd you shoot me? And they said, because we're here to kill you. And shot him in the head. Just like Private Lynch had 5 members of her unit killed in 1 week after they started speaking out, saying that she cowered in fear the entire time. It was all to be a big PR thing with movies and books and how the woman fought and the men cowered. And it was General McChrystal on record who covered up, who came up with a fake story on Pat Tillman about how he died battling Al-Qaeda. And then it was McChrystal that had the whole cover-up. And, of course, we can do 2 + 2 = 4. It was clearly McChrystal over Special Forces and over the entire Afghanistan command, who the evidence directs towards would have given the order for Pat Tillman to get fragged. You can take one look at McChrystal, and that guy is right out of Hellraiser. You can take one look at that guy and tell he's gone over completely. Completely to the dark side. He knows what he's doing. He likes it. He likes it a lot. He's a winner. Anybody else gets in his way is a loser. And they're winners taking people's private bank accounts all over Europe, not just Cyprus. And they're the winners taxing you and designing the tax system where it's impossible to be middle class anymore worldwide. And they're the ones that have decided they're going to throw it all in your face. It's all over the news today that, oh, all the new cable boxes and the new Connect and all the new TiVos watch and listen to you. And the companies, AT&T, Google, Apple, Microsoft, they all admit they're watching and listening to you. And so Congressman Jones of North Carolina and others have introduced a bill saying they're going to make it illegal for private companies to do that, which it already is illegal. And then it's come out in the news that the NSA is actually inside Microsoft, Google, Apple, AT&T, Amazon, and that they are watching everything you do and have built NSA bases within all of these facilities. I told you in 1996 that was the case. And how did I know this? Because it was all public. It was all the Telecommunications Act. But the naive public would say, Alex, there's no way that's in the Telecommunications Act. Even though I was giving them the subsections, they would call in on local FM radio and tell me I was a liar because that's illegal to spy on people without warrants in America. Just like it's on record that every major defense contractor that transports people is running giant sex slavery rings worldwide, including small children, including snuff films. Comes out in Congress, comes out Chicago Tribune, comes out BBC. And it only comes out to blackmail different groups when they get out of line. And then no one comes to save the children. No one comes to help them. People are like, oh, there's no way the government's doing that. That's too much. I'm not going to look into that. Well, no one's going to look into it when they take you to a FEMA camp. No one's going to look into it when they take your bank account. No one's going to look into it when you get cancer when you're 25 years old or when your kid's 10. No one's going to look into it when the CPS takes your 9-year-old daughter because you didn't vaccinate her when there's no law, but they just say it's neglect, and go and give them 5 years of shots in 1 day, and your daughter has a convulsion, and they give them back to you, and she can't talk anymore. That's what happened with the girl that got tasered, the 11-year-old walking naked down the street. Father told us all about that. That's what happened. That's what America is, folks. They come and they take your kid and they take them and lobotomize them with chemicals. And then if you don't like it, they'll kill you. And everybody bows in fear, and everybody grovels, and everybody gives in. And so we go into total bondage. And we give them our kids. We give them everything. And they're going to butcher us up one side and down the other, and they're not going to give us any mercy or any quarter. And the more we beg, the more they're going to gouge our eyeballs out. When you could have stood up at any time and defeated these people by just telling them who they are and withdrawing your consent. But you wouldn't do it. And so the forces of hell that have been pouring out on every other nation are now to be pouring out on the West. All the blessings will be lost. All the curses will be delivered. Hell and the four horsemen will ride down America, just as we've written down 53 million babies from abortion. You know why everyone is so tense? And why at the same time people more and more are becoming aware? It's because we have a sixth sense. We have a spiritual discernment. All of us do to a certain extent. And we know we're entering that event horizon quadrant of human history where the future, to a great extent, is being dictated. There are times in history when more happens in a year than happened in the previous 100. And we are entering that area right now. We are entering the jump point. And what we do now will govern the future to a great extent. Make no mistake. That's why I am at peace and committed to go up against the globalists as hard as I can. Because the worst of the worst are in control. I mean, I was watching video this morning of Chucky Schumer talking about how they need to prosecute Snowden. And just the evil radiating out of him. Not just his actions, but just the discernment. And watching him, I mean, I would go to the other side of the street to not walk by that guy. Just crazed, animated with evil intelligence. That really concerned me at my core. And I look at people like General McChrystal, same thing. These are evil, evil people that have turned themselves over to wickedness and are just super bad. Super wicked. I mean, how did Hastings think he was going to go burn that general and not get destroyed? Because there's one thing about these people, there's strange rules that I've always followed instinctively, just from a sense of justice that so many people don't understand. If you ever work with the New World Order or any other crime syndicate, and then you cross them 1 micron, they will kill you out of hand. That is a rule. See, people ask why I'm alive. I have never worked with the dark side. I have come at this like a child. I have come at this just simply trying to be loving and do the right thing. I come off as rage-filled a lot because I'm frustrated and I'm angry and I'm concerned. And I'm committed. My life is committed to this. And so there's a lot of energy in that. There's a lot of power in that. And there's a lot of frustration in that. Because I know the stakes. I know I'm telling the truth. I know how real this is. And I wish you knew out there how real this was. And how serious the stakes are. They're going to make the last century's death toll look tame, my friends. And if you look at cycles from the history, they usually have a large world war between the 15 and the 20. World War I, they had a world war before that with Napoleon in the known Western world. They had another big world war 100 years before that. And then if you also look back to around 40 to 50, they have large wars then. Civil wars tend to come in the 60s. And then you learn, oh my gosh, this is all engineered. The establishment understands these cycles and is riding them. And then you read books by Zbigniew Brzezinski and Carol Quigley and countless others. And what you already reverse engineered, word for word, is written there, but from their evil perspective. And they're looking right back at you going, yeah, we know you see us. You're a fool not to join us. Because all we're doing is giving you true human nature. If the public wasn't meant to be slaves, they wouldn't be. That's their attitude, and it's a lie. Really, is that why you try to keep them down and dumb them down? They're like, well, if you don't know not to drink fluoride and not take vaccines, that's not your problem. And then you go and coerce people and take their kids from them to shoot them up? No, you guys are filthy, degenerate, inbred bullies. And if any bloodlines need to be wiped out, it's yours. But I'm not going to make that decision. You will wipe yourselves out, probably the rest of us with you, in your own subconscious hatred of yourself. I would rather not see this elite destroy themselves and us along with them. I really want to see you guys turn back from the dark side. I really want to see you repent and be given true knowledge and true power. You think the God of this world is not going to sell you down the river? 800-259-9231. 800-259-9231. We've opened the phones up. Whatever you want to talk about, I'm ready to hear it. 800-259-9231. I'll hit the open border, end of America, North American Union, immigration news, the Snowden news, the Hastings news, and a lot more. Your phone calls straight ahead. I'm Alex Jones. We're back live, my friends. I'm Alex Jones, your host. Thank you so much for joining us. The news websites are prisonplanet.com, Infowars.com. We have a new story that just broke at Infowars.com with updates. NSA whistleblower Edward Snowden goes missing, and obviously they thought he got on the plane. The press all got on the plane. It was a bait and switch. WikiLeaks' Julian Assange has given a press conference during which he said Snowden was safe, but refused to divulge his location. And again, you know about Mr. Schwartz, who was really one of the heads of Anonymous and one of the creators and owners of Reddit, who was going to fight a fake federal felony case against him for sharing information, part of the persecution of the free press. He said he was going to fight it, was getting married. They murdered him, hung him. But the feds all said he hung himself, so let's all just believe him. Since when does the media sit there and lapdog to all of this? We're going to play a clip later of Greenwald with Gregory, with David Gregory, where he says, with newsmen like you, who needs government to criminalize reporting? Because David Gregory says, maybe you should be arrested for reporting on the NSA. I mean, a total government lapdog. And for Greenwald, you are talking to the globalist government. You're talking to the corporate government that's hijacked our government. And so when you see the press saying, oh, let's not investigate Breitbart, let's not investigate what's happening with Michael Hastings, let's not investigate Aaron Swartz, let's not investigate this, they're complicit, folks, or they're scared. And don't the cowards understand when you all act like cowards and you all lay down, the wolves come? If humans acted like rabbits or deer, coyotes would kill us. Instead, they're scared of us. If we acted like prey, wolves would hunt us and kill us, but we don't. We're predator animals above them. We're the apex predators, except groups of our own species organize to then become predators over us. We have a name for that. It's called tyranny. It's called gangs feeding on us. And good people need to get together under a code of the Bill of Rights and Constitution and common law into our own gang. It's called a republic. And anyone that violates it is an enemy. And if you engage in high treason, trying to overthrow the republic, that's the real government, you are guilty and should be tried in front of a jury of your peers, given your appeals, and then executed. That sounds like radical talk. It's not. The people that have put our military under NATO and UN command are guilty of high treason. They have put us under a foreign power. That's why they're so arrogant now. That's why they're killing the press openly. That's a message to the press blowing him up like that. I'm going off the radar. They're after me. I'm going undercover. I'm going into hiding. And his friends are now in the news saying, it's really scary. He's never talked like this. I think something must have happened. Something's going on. Boom! Oh, something was going on. I've got a big story. They're after me. I've got to go under the radar. I've got to go into hiding before I break this. This is incredible. This is incredible. NSA, CIA, it's big. Boom! Oh, there's nothing to look at there. And they've told me in serious death threats over the years that I better shut up. And just in case you know who's sending the message, you notice there's nothing on caller ID. You notice it's blank. And by the way, we know what you're talking about. You just talked about this on the phone. So you keep your mouth shut and you back off. Or we're going to cut your head off. I'm not going to say the rest of it in case my family's listening. And they think they're safe to just murder whoever they want. And here's the difference. I can't shut up. I can't back down. They could have my kids lined up, folks, and I couldn't sell out to them. You understand that? They could have them lined up with guns to their head. I can't give in to these people. I can't say abortion's good. I can't say vaccines are good. I can't say GMO's good. I can't say fluoride's good. I can't buy into the lie, because that's what the intimidators do. They bring in all the intimidation and the subconscious messages that will kill you, and most people just get scared and go, I support the system. Spy on me. I hear that. I have nothing to hide. Don't come get me. You hear that everywhere. As if that's going to protect you. My instinct to fight these people is the good instinct. My instinct is for freedom. My instinct is to fight King George. My instinct is to fight Santa Ana. My instinct is to fight the foreign banks and Chucky Schumer. Because I'm alive, ladies and gentlemen. My guts, my blood, my genetics, my spirit, my soul, my whole being cries out and says, do more, fight them harder, get more hardcore, turn it loose, focus. You're going to die for this. Go all the way. And then I see all these men scared to death out there trying to hold on to the little bit they've got. You're going to lose it all, ladies and gentlemen, if you don't realize what we face right now. And let me tell you why the New World Order is scared. Roughly half the military, was 40% just 6 months ago, that I talked to our listeners. I can just see people in uniform and walk up and go, hey, how's it going today? And they're like, Alex Jones. Well, most of my unit listens to you. Sometimes it's 90% of the unit. Usually it's about 40, 50%. And they go, but the others are starting to wake up. That's why the globalists in their own manuals are training a domestic army of traitors to say the veterans and gun owners are the enemy. They think they're going to have some purge. They think they're going to hunt us down. They think they're going to run psyops and blow stuff up and blame it on us so people won't fight back once the hot war starts. Let me tell you something, folks. I've studied military history. I've studied current events. I've talked to all the experts of the world. I am an expert on this. We've got the upper hand if we just use it. There are people throughout the government just waiting to do the right thing, but they need to see more people stand up. And that's why Michael Hastings went on national TV on multiple shows. We're going to play a clip of this coming up. First, we're going to play Greenwald tearing into the traitor Gregory. And he said, look, they're coming after the press. They're coming after basic freedom. We've got to organize together, withdraw all consent, and declare war on the national security state. We can bring America back. And, man, that scared them because the globalists are committed. They have committed the crimes. They run everything, ladies and gentlemen. Anytime I have an inkling of fear or the flesh goes, You know, you ought to just go on vacations and write books and enjoy yourself and just not push so hard and kind of cozy up to the system. And it's like, no, no, no. There are people who are slaves all over the world right now who are being tortured, who are crying out to God that we stand up for them. And there are all the unborn who nobody's standing up for, ladies and gentlemen. We got to stand up for them. It is not a choice at all. You think about the souls of the innocent, the men, women, and children who are being torn apart and cornered right now, and they're crying out to God. And God is saying, who will stand up against the wicked ones? Who will stand up for the innocent for me? The Bible says over and over again that God hates no one more than someone who's really good at heart, but who's a coward and hears those calls, those spiritual, psychic calls, and who does not answer them. There is no choice, ladies and gentlemen. There is a spirit. There is an afterlife. Religions can try to put names on it. Churches can try to put doors on it and make you think you go through the priest to find God. God is in our hearts right now. The Spirit, God's Spirit, the seed of the universe is in all of our hearts. And we have to simply open the door of our own heart. It's knocking right now. That's all you've got to do. And the fear, all of it will leave you. And then all you'll have left is the drive to stand up and do the right thing. And you'll still have the flesh, and you'll still be wicked, and you'll still have bad thoughts, but you will see it for what it is. And it will become smaller and smaller in your life. And then the horizons, after God has torn you down, God will build you up after you've gone through the storm. But you will never develop, you will never taste the greater things in this universe that God has in store for us, that the eye has not seen, ear has not heard, mind has not imagined, if you will not take these tests now and prove that you are a worthy servant of good. You need that good report. You have free will. Prove who you are now. If you want to bring down evil, change your heart today, and the world will change after it. Where are the good men standing against evil? So many good men have a sense of confidence to them, to the point of they think that they're being uppity if they stand up and become leaders, if they stand up and challenge corruption. And I've always known my great mission is to speak to men and women who are leaders and to demand that you start that journey against tyranny now. And it starts small, in your own heart, in your own mind, and then it starts in your own life. It starts in your own home. It starts where you work. It starts where you go to church. It starts when you see someone who has an autistic child to walk over to them and say, hi, my name's, what sweet children you have. Is your son autistic? Well, yes, he is. And how old is he? He's 10. What do you think caused it? Oh, there's a lot of things. Did it happen when he was 18 months old? Yeah, it happened the third round of shots. Yeah, that's what people say it is, but it's okay. You know, I don't mean to get in your business, but there are a lot of things you can do to try to detox, and he's already behind, but reverse some of that. I don't mean to get in your business, but here's some websites, here's some news. And also, did you ever think this happened and that some good can be made out of this? Have you ever thought about other parents that don't know about this? Have you ever thought about warning them before it happens to their child? And they'll look at you and say, I never really thought of that. I should do that. Yeah, but you don't want to get in people's business, do you? I didn't want to get in your business here today. And I've done this so many times. I've reached right out to them, and I've got them, and I've said, we've got to save the children they haven't gotten to yet, don't we? And they'll look at me, and tears will start rolling down their eyes, and they say, yes, yes. In person, I have a lot more strength with people. I'm not good on the air, folks. I'm better in person, and so are you. And I see a pregnant woman with her husband, I'll walk over in a restaurant. I'll walk over in a grocery store, and I'll say, I bet you're being pressured to vaccinate. And I don't want to get in your business, but I have children too. And they're going to get in your business and tell you it's the law and stuff to take shots and you need to take the hepatitis shot and all this. All I'm asking you to do is read the insert. They're going to tell you that it's totally safe, no side effects. Read the insert. And they'll say, yeah, we were kind of talking about that just in the car on the way here. And then they sense the spiritualness of it, that they were already talking about it. And then there I was talking to them. God is there influencing through good people. But you've got to then feel that call and do it. You've got to minister to people in your own little way. You've got to warn them. If you see the mayor of your town that's fought to keep fluoride in the water, you need to go to that mayor and say, I'd like to shake your hand, and get him by the hand and say, if you love your grandchildren, you need to do the right thing and get the fluoride removed, even though lobbyists have paid you to make sure that poison's in the water. I want your card. I'm going to deliver to you at the city council, the Harvard and University of Texas and hundreds of other studies. And you go in there with a stack of studies and you tell them, I'm here to bless you, or I'm here in the name of God to curse you. And the curse is only the tort, the letter. You're on notice that this is killing people and brain damaging them. And here is 100 studies that this is doing this. And I bet you filter your grandchildren's water, Lee Leffingwell here in Austin, Texas. How dare you laugh at doctors and scientists we've brought here to present this and walk out and how dare you pay $1 million a year plus to put this in our water? How dare you? You either move to remove that fluoride out, or God sees what you're doing and how you're aborting the minds of our children. And it's on you. You are accountable. You are on notice. Do you understand? Beware what you have done. Beware. These people need to be rebuked. They need to be put on notice. Just as people rebuked Saul of Tarsus before he became Paul. He was rebuked over and over again as he persecuted people until he was knocked from his horse and awakened. And that's how this will work. Some incrementally, some quickly. But you have to march with focus and strength to wake others up. I'm going to go to your phone calls. Dean and Ship and John and Jack and Rod and many others that are patiently polling. Rand Paul has done the right thing. And I told William Geen of Alley Pack and everybody, Rand Paul said if they have a reasonable bill for a path to citizenship for people that want to do it legally, and it's not felons, and we don't give them a bunch of extra welfare, and this current bill gets rid of the border patrol, basically, and just totally is the North American Union. But if we have a good bill, I'll support it. Everybody's like, oh, no, he's compromising. And I trusted Rand when he said if it wasn't a good bill, he would not support it. And Rand Paul proved himself again. He has withdrawn support for it because it is now a manifest end of America, totally wide open borders, 30 million illegals, 47 million by 2020, all being given welfare, free tuition, have their babies free. That's corporate welfare, basically a stimulus check to the illegals so that they can come here and work for stuff that nobody could survive on. They're getting given the freebies as corporate welfare to drive down the wages and bankrupt the regular economy. Just like the 4 or 5 million prison laborers is the biggest industry in this country, meant to undercut everybody for 25 cents an hour. You're like, why don't you want the prisoners to work? No, no, no. This is designed to bankrupt the economy. And so Rand Paul did that, but the bill is unbelievable. IRS sent $46 million to one Atlanta household. It was 80-something million here in Austin to the illegals. With amendment killed, Rand Paul won't support immigration bill. Senators tout 70 votes for immigration reform as Paul predicts bill already dead in the House. Schumer predicts mass demonstrations. That's our criminal government with a group of foreigners as a political weapon. It'll only get worse as more are brought in. That's the problem. It's being forged into a weapon. It's not reasonable. So that traitor will try to do that. Sessions, opposition to border security amendment will grow. Again, your phone calls are coming up. But I'm going to break down the latest on the immigration bill in total detail as it unfolds. 1,200 pages. They've had a couple days to try to read it. It is stimulus programs to the Democratic Party, to illegal aliens, giant free giveaways, just a total sellout of the country, legalizing felons. It's basically everything they tried before, but even worse. And it's bipartisan criminality that's going on here. Because the globalists know they're all going to go to jail if we ever take America back. And so they desperately think they're going to bring in a bunch of foreigners and hype them up to voting to take our guns. That'll just cause a civil war. And again, I talked to the, quote, immigrant community. They're waking up. So humanity more and more is coming together. I want to get to this clip because I mentioned it. It's so outrageous to have Glenn Greenwald for The Guardian, an American, engaging in real journalism, and to have David Gregory, who goes to the same school as Obama's kids and has armed guards for his kids, but he wants our guns, asking, shouldn't Greenwald be arrested? Again, the press won't even go, say, investigate Hastings' death. I'm going into hiding. They're after me. I'm breaking the biggest story ever. Boom! An hour and a half after. And they ridicule Infowars.com. From the Daily Caller to New York Magazine to you name it, I'm bad for saying foul play should be investigated. Then they kill the coroner that did the autopsy on Breitbart. And it's like, is it wrong to think maybe he was killed in foul play? Maybe he poisoned himself on accident. Maybe Papa Smurf climbed up from a toadstool and put it in there. I mean, the mental gymnastics that we go through here to put up with this tyranny. Let's go to this clip.
To the extent that you have aided and abetted Snowden, even in his current movements, why shouldn't you, Mr. Greenwald, be charged with a crime?
I think it's pretty extraordinary that anybody who would call themselves a journalist would publicly muse about whether or not other journalists should be charged with felonies. The assumption in your question, David, is completely without evidence, the idea that I've aided and abetted him in any way. The scandal that arose in Washington before our stories began was about the fact that the Obama administration is trying to criminalize investigative journalism by going through the emails and phone records of AP reporters, accusing a Fox News journalist of the theory that you just embraced, being a co-conspirator with felonies for working with sources. If you want to embrace that theory, it means that every investigative journalist in the United States who works with their sources, who receives classified information, is a criminal. And it's precisely those theories and precisely that climate that has become so menacing in the United States. It's why the New Yorker's Jane Mayer said investigative reporting has come to a standstill, her word, as a result of the theories that you just referenced.
Well, the question of who's a journalist may be up to a debate with regard to what you're doing.
That's
and of
enough.
course, anybody who's watching.
Ladies and gentlemen, they passed the NDAA saying they can secretly arrest us and kill us whenever they want, but said, don't worry, we won't use it. And they are persecuting everything from the Tea Party to pro-lifers to Fox News. And Greenwald, who's over in England, that's why there was a delay there in the question. And it shows what creeps they are. They tried to mainline torture, secret arrest, and now let's arrest the press when they report on the government committing crimes. And they are arresting members of the press. And then they have the corporate propaganda mouthpiece, David Gregory. Everybody should boycott his show. The entire press, instead of cowering in fear. You want to know why tyranny's happening? Because America acts like a bunch of cowards. In the past, they wouldn't try this on journalists. They'd go public. They killed hundreds of journalists over JFK and only made more journalists pile on. But you people think laying down is going to empower you. Please support this broadcast. Spread the word about Infowars.com and Infowars Show. And please visit InfowarsStore.com for all the amazing products. There is a battle taking place for the heart and soul of this republic. I'm going to have open phones throughout this hour. We're going to get into the latest on the immigration battle and the bill that we now are being able to read through, 1,200 pages. They're trying to pass today in the Senate. We'll get into Snowden, got on the flight, got off of it. No one knows where he is. We'll get into calls for Glenn Greenwald to be arrested by Mr. Gregory, just a traitor to America. The system's got its wagon circled right now because all their crimes are starting to come out. And they know the house of cards could come down. That's what makes them so dangerous right now. We'll get into the latest on the economy and a bunch of police state news that I've got to get to. But right now, let's go to your calls. Thanks for holding. Dean in California, you're on the air.
Yeah, Alex, thank you.
Yes, sir.
Can you hear me?
Yes, sir.
Okay, I just got some static. I had a question. I know that you've been talking about the eventual, false flag and martial law being declared at some point. The last couple of days, I've been reading some, what I thought were kind of disturbing, admittedly third-party hearsay posts on some different websites from people who claim that they have friends and family in different government agencies who have been telling him that they're ramping up the training specifically to deal with martial law and doing things like teaching them how to drive the, large capacity FEMA buses. And,
yeah, well, see, this is why the public are slaves. It's on record they're training police nationwide to drive buses and for civil unrest. It's on record they basically trained the entire military, including mechanics, in riot control the last decade. They're always ramping up, buying more bullets, more armored vehicles, so that when they finally do it, everybody expects it because you've been doing dress rehearsal for it for, a decade or longer. Plus, they've got to train each new group. So it's an ongoing battle. And then people have family that do this, and then it just becomes a rumor. Kind of like geoengineering is a rumor when it's massively declassified, that weather modifications going on. So, but yes, the greatest level of gearing up to go after the American people that's ever happened is going on. And we have the training manuals. They've leaked, and they've gone public with them because we made them obsolete, their classification, that they're training for war with anti-New World Order people, i.e. Americans. People that are like, why does NATO run our military? Why are you training to take our guns? Why is the Federal Reserve private? We shouldn't have this going on. They're like, you are a traitor. You are a criminal, when they're obviously the traitors and the criminals. This is a foreign banking group saying the military's the #1 threat. While they use the military, see, it's like Hitler, using the military to dominate Germany and surrounding areas, but while keeping them on the tightest leash and killing countless members of the main general staff. Because that's Stalin wiped out thousands of officers over and over again. Tyrannies are a horrible thing. And they're horrible for the control freaks that set them up as well. It's the most unstable, horrible system you can live under, unless you're offshore mega banks that are playing it off and who play the empires off against each other. Do you understand?
I do. The most disturbing part of the recent posts that I've been starting to see is that they mentioned a relatively specific time frame, like within the next 30 to 60 days, there's going to be a quote-unquote electronic hack against the banking industry, which will allow them to do two things: close the banks and take all our money, and declare martial law and start whatever it is they're going to do.
I've talked about that for 5 years because the Department of Cyber Command, which hasn't been passed by Congress but has been funded on record, they're building all the command bases. As soon as their system goes online, is tested, most of it's already online, they will launch false flags on the web as an excuse to shut it down, take it over. That's what they always do. They stage the terror, then pose as the savior. So I don't know about a time frame, but that is their plan. Thank you for joining us, my friends. We are now into hour number 2, broadcasting worldwide. I am your host, Alex Jones. The news websites are Infowars.com, PrisonPlanet.com, PrisonPlanet.tv. We're simulcasting a free video feed for folks at Infowars.com/show. And please take that link with the free podcast and all the audio feeds and send it out to your friends and family today. Infowars.com/show. The free iPhone apps, free Droid apps, they're all right there on that site. Okay, I want to go to your calls right now. People holding like Jack in California and John and Ship and Rod and Brendan and many others. The toll-free number to join us is 800-259-9231. After I've gone through some calls, I'm going to get into the repackaged amnesty bill allows Napolitano to nix border fence. She did everything she could in Arizona to destroy U.S. sovereignty as governor. Corker Amendment permanently offers citizenship to those overstaying their visas. It just lets you illegally come here And it's an open door to anybody that can get here. That's why even people like Crystal, the big neocon, is against this. And they go, well, you supported it in the past. Folks, this is the complete gutting. I mean, no country's ever done this. Just anybody wants to come here on a visa. We're making the visas. You can get them in a week instead of a month now. Any country, just come here. It's free. I mean, it is the globalists just like Hail Marying the ball to try to bring in as many people as they can to bankrupt the country. Even the neocons, they're the ones that have tried to do this before, are turning against it because it is crazy. I mean, it is crap. I've been going over this bill this morning. Spent about an hour trying to go over Sessions. Senator Sessions broke down what sections to look at, and I was looking at it. I mean, I cannot believe this thing. I saw an amendment in there where felons just sign a pledge, and then they're allowed to become citizens, and on and on and on. This is unbelievable. So I'm going to be getting into all that. Head spinning. But Rand Paul, as I told you, he's for reasonable path to citizenship. It is hard to become a citizen. It takes 10, 15, 20 years. It's made to where you don't want to become legal. And I support more immigrants to the country if they aren't immediately put on welfare. But just like Rand Paul said, this is unreasonable. He's not going to be part of it. I trusted Rand Paul. He's never let me down. And he did the right thing. IRS sent $46 million in refunds at one Atlanta address, ladies and gentlemen. But the House said it had 23,000 people living at it. Again, I saw a story a few years ago, well, this is about a year ago, here in Austin, 80+ million to one address. And none of it's enforced, and nobody goes to jail because they are allowed to launder the money through local banks. And that's come out. The banks, folks, are the enemy. The foreign banks that have American names like Wells Fargo and J.P. Morgan, they are all above the law, ladies and gentlemen. Schumer predicts mass demonstrations of House blocks path to citizenship. Remember, this is a globalist who is threatening to have 30 million illegal aliens run around and riot if we don't do what they say. You think it'll be better once there's another 30 million legalized? You think things will get better? Who would put up with this type of stuff? This is a globalist coup d'etat against this country. And it ruins the immigrants because you could get them here and get them into Americana and free market and liberty. And, you know, I mean, immigrants make great Americans. That's what America was based on. There are a lot of great people in Mexico, folks. A lot of great people in Poland. A lot of great people in South Africa. A lot of great people all over. I'll tell you, a lot of times immigrants, I've known them. If they're good people, they're better than the average spoiled, rotten American. I don't care whether you're black, white, or Hispanic. I mean, a lot of Americans are spoiled, rotten. And then those of us that work all the time basically pay for everything. But you sit here and look at the immigrants they want, man, it's a bunch of criminals. In fact, look at one of the main immigration leaders in Texas. It turns out, has been arrested for bank robbery. I've got that in my stack. I'll get into that after I go to calls. But the point is that's what I found. The local mayors we've had and the local city council people, their brothers will get busted being the top coyote. And by the way, these guys are above the law, folks. I mean, I know one famous guy, he's been sent to jail now, it got too big for his britches. He had a restaurant right next to another restaurant, and if your car parked 1 inch over the parking lot into his parking lot, he would come out with a baseball bat and beat your car up or beat you and then not get in trouble. Yeah, there it is, immigration rights activist, alleged mesh mass bandit of, 19 bank robberies. He's been arrested for that. My point is that this is like the happy hunting ground, and the globalists need enforcers, so they're hiring all these mafias. But the Austin group, you know, it comes out all the time and the charges get dropped. Oh, the city council person's brother was, and the main immigration group, you know, was running the coyotes. Yeah, and that ain't it. And was running this and that. And the cops have been told, leave these people alone. It's just like the Bandidos, and that's mainly, you know, has a Spanish name. It was started by white guys. But the whole point is that group is just a motorcycle gang, and it's above the law. Just because they don't lay down to people, they end up being in charge. I mean, it's like You lay down, you're a slave. You stand up, you run everything. Why? It's time for good people to stand up. That's all I'm saying. This idea of bending over, worshiping government, worshiping thugs will deliver us to hell. And the forces of hell are running rampant all over the country, killing press. I mean, they've got David Gregory now. I got to play this before I go to your call since I mentioned it. Saying, hey, how about you get arrested for aiding and abetting Snowden? And there's a delay because he's in England via satellite. And the reporter just sits back. I mean, they're all calling for it. The press should, as a gang, stand together, just as Michael Hastings said. And that's why they killed him. That clip's coming up after calls. Good people stand together or they hang separate. It's like Rush Limbaugh. Rush Limbaugh has attacked me over the years, kind of distorting things I've said. Whatever, it's all fair game. I appreciate the coverage. And I know Rush reads our site. He covers the news, our news all the time, just doesn't give it credit. Michael Savage reads our news, gives it credit. I appreciate that. Sean Hannity does the same thing. Glenn Beck does it constantly. And Glenn Beck says really mean lies about me, but I forgive him. Because I'm not in this just to hate people anymore. But when Rush Limbaugh, they were trying to get him off the air again last year with made-up stuff, I went and bought advertising. And I'm just trying to lead by example, folks. If we don't hang together, we're going to hang separate. We got to put all the infighting aside as libertarians, conservatives, constitutionalists, real liberals that are, really care about justice. We have to come together or it's all over, folks. I put out an article a few years ago. Glenn Beck said, I don't know why I've got macular degeneration. I'm going blind. And it's on record that the reason that is massively increasing is aspartame. Aspartame causes you to basically have all sorts of leaky eye syndromes and degeneration of cells. It's on record. So I wrote an article with Paul Watson with all the studies in it. Drudge cared and posted it. They're like, hey, let us help you. Because he drinks Diet Coke on air. I've noticed now, and I've seen him, he doesn't drink Diet Coke. But he made mean jokes about me, just trying to help him. I thought maybe you'd get your sight back or not lose more sight, and then you'd help your audience. But you won't even tell them now so you've stopped drinking it, but now you won't tell people, and then you got mad at us trying to help you. I mean, what is that? I just refuse to be part of that. I'm going to skip this network break because I said I was going to take calls, and I've got to get those minutes back. I'm going to skip this network break coming up in 2 minutes. Station should not be playing over this because this is a Genesis break. Let's go to John, and then we're going to go to Jack. John in New York, thanks for holding. You're on the air. Welcome.
Yeah, thank you for taking my call. I have two important comments. First of all, are you here back on June 2nd, 2002? Leslie Stahl did this fascinating program on the 93 bombing. She interviewed the sole fugitive Abdulrahman Yassin in a prison in Iraq. It's not important what he said. Of course, it's not important thing, what he said, which was the media made a big deal out of. But after that program, Tariq Aziz was interviewed, and he told Leslie Stahl that ever since he came to Iraq, we called up Americans and said, please take this guy from us. We don't want him. The only thing I ask from you is a signature, no lifting of sanctions. And when Leslie Stahl asked the White House...
Sir, I got to be honest. I'm not understanding what you're saying. This happens sometimes. It's all running together. What are you talking about? About Iraq? A 60 Minutes interview?
Yes, Leslie Stahl from 60 Minutes interviewed Tariq Aziz because the sole fugitive...
Yeah, the former foreign minister of Iraq, yes, who was living in England now.
Yeah, and Tariq Aziz said ever since Yassin came to Iraq, we told America, please take this guy from us. The only thing we ask from you is a signature, like a FedEx delivery, and America said no. And so Leslie Stahl asked the White House, why did you refuse him and continue to refuse him? They told her to go ask the State Department, and when she asked the State Department said, go ask the White House. So we have a few...
But for those that don't understand what you're talking about, because I can barely follow it, and I'm up on these things, what is the core? Who did they refuse?
Abdulrahman Yassin, the sole fugitive from the 93 bombing who was in Iraq.
Yeah, I know. That came out years ago, that our so-called government never wants the real terrorist because they run them. I mean, I've quite frankly have never seen a big high-profile terrorist they don't run. And it always comes out. It comes out in mainstream news. British government ran 7/7. The MI6 agent managed the whole deal. They told him it was a drill, blew the poor guys up. We know the names of who did it. Same thing on Boston bombing. We know they were under CIA control. They thought they were part of a drill. They were, I mean, it just goes on and on. Absolutely, sir. Good to hear from you. Yeah, there it is, 60 Minutes, the man who got away. Thank you so much. Let's talk to Jack in California, listening on 1340 AM KOMY. You're on the air. Go ahead.
I wanted to get your take on a couple of things. One is, what do you think the likelihood is of Obama trying to stay in for a third term, either through martial law or whatever? And if you have any, word from Lindsey Williams about that, or even if the
I'm not sure about Lindsey Williams' source. I mean, I know who it is, and I know it's a guy that's been in the inner circles, but the power structure itself isn't sure what it's going to do month to month. I mean, they have long-term plans. We know those. I mean, their agenda is pretty much public because they promote it. But I don't think Obama is going to try to stay in for a third term, though I think that could be in the cards. I don't think they're going to play those cards just because we've politically destroyed him so much. They were planning to make him like a Lincoln to lead a civil war against America. That was clearly branded that way, but we've so damaged his brand. Even though he's a puppet, it was important to destroy his brand so that they couldn't use it as a beachhead. So we're winning a lot of the fights right now. We're really hurting them. And as we give political aid and comfort to real Americans in government to speak out, to say no, to block things internally, as the Pentagon listens to us, the compartmentalized group shove it, we're really getting the enemy into check right now. Now, they may pull something big, but and they may shut the web down during a fake cyber attack or something like that as a pretext to try to reorganize. But it's just not going to work long term. I mean, we really are getting the upper hand because we have right on our side. But clearly, they've had Democrats introduce bills for Obama to be able to have a third term. They've promoted it. But I think they'll want to bring in some Republican stooge to kind of make people go back to sleep again, to make it look like there's an illusion of choice. I just don't think Obama's going to get that third term. That's what my gut tells me. But I think that was in the front of their deck, and they were planning to play that card if you go back 4 years ago. All the preparations have been made for it. But the globalists are really in trouble right now. So we're in the fight, my friend.
Okay, the other thing was the word treason's being thrown around quite a bit now with Snowden. And I just wanted to see what you thought about this giving money to the Muslim Brotherhood. I don't know that you could pin that down to Obama, but just that whole concept seems treasonous, that we're funding our supposed enemy.
Well, I mean, look, this is what's happening, and I appreciate your fine questions and points. Thank you, Jack. Our government has been taken over partially in 1913, to a larger extent in 33, and then massively with the 1947 National Security Act, allowing the criminal group to basically be above the law. And then now they've dominated the nation. They've sold us out. They've bankrupted us by design. They've deindustrialized us to make us basically controllable to an extent through dependency. And now they're busy trying to further deindustrialize and bankrupt and collectivize and get Americans on the dole. And now they're openly trying to demonize patriots and liberty lovers and trying to sell the idea that, oh, Al-Qaeda isn't the threat, it's the gun owners, it's the returning veterans, it's the libertarians. And so we've kind of reached that twilight zone point where the vets and the gun owners and the conservatives and the pro-lifers are the bad guys, and the NSA targets them and harasses lawmakers, and the NSA spies on the press, and they're killing reporters, and our government runs Al-Qaeda all over the world. Forget the Muslim Brotherhood. Our government is running Al-Qaeda and giving them heavy arms. They've been giving them heavy arms for 2.5 years. I mean, they called 2.5 years ago rocket attacks and small howitzer attacks and RPG attacks bazooka attacks. I mean, to see those videos and photos of Al-Qaeda with U.S. Laws rockets and U.S. truck-based howitzers and U.S. heat-seeking missiles. That's what's freaking the military out, because the military knows what those weapons are. And they see the news like the general public doesn't. General public sees guys with Al-Qaeda flags, Al-Qaeda uniforms, and in the background a C-130 offloading them. And the public doesn't know what a C-130 is. They don't know that's a NATO aircraft. They don't know what that black Al-Qaeda flag is. Our military does. So for them, they speak the language, and they're saying, Al-Qaeda with Laws rockets? It's not even RPGs. It's not even Russian. And the military's going, Alex Jones is right. It's that image of brigades of Al-Qaeda who then jump around going, after we kill Assad, we attack America. And we publish the videos, posted them over and over again, where you'll see a square of 10,000 people jumping up and down in Al-Qaeda uniforms with giant Al-Qaeda banners that says Al-Qaeda, saying, we're going to destroy America. We're going to destroy England. And, folks, they're going to let them attack us. Yeah, there's WorldNet Daily with an image of Al-Qaeda with a modern Stinger missile. A heat-seeking missile. That's pretty funny, actually. And then again, TSA walks over and goes, why don't you want to do the scan? And I say, because our government runs Al-Qaeda publicly. And everybody here knows that. And everybody's starting nodding, yeah. This is all a joke. And these radiation machines over here, not just the scanners, but these machines over here are going to kill you. How many of you have already gotten cancer in here? You know about the cancer clusters. And suddenly they go, just go. Yeah, I know about them. I'm like, yeah. And I go to the TSA person, and I go, I care about you. I understand they destroyed this economy on purpose so that you could only have this job, but it's not worth dying. Quit your job now. I mean, you think they wouldn't kill Michael Hastings of the Rolling Stone blowing his car up last week when they ordered 200-plus giant chemical weapons dumps filled with U.S. and NATO-sold chemical weapons, and because they shot video. The Marines went in and shot it, came out on 60 Minutes, and they ordered them blow it all up. And then the Pentagon discussed it. That's why Schwarzkopf really broke down and cried, and why they relieved Schwarzkopf of command. Remember that? That was one day after they blew that up and ordered, this all came out later, ordered Schwarzkopf to stand down. And when the detectors went off, over 20,000 of them, this is all 60 Minutes. When the detectors all went off, they told them false alarm, and then Schwarzkopf said, keep your gear on. But they didn't want to admit that they'd blown that up because they wanted to get rid of the evidence, and they knew it was going to go through the gear anyways, but it wouldn't have been as bad. And so they blew it all up and said, take your gear off, and the troops took their gear off. And some had convulsions that were up close, and some died within days. And Schwarzkopf was ordered to cover that up. And then, of course, they had that bunker with a bunch of command people in it that argued about it. They blew that up and then said, oh, a lucky Scud got launched after the war and killed 200 people. Remember that? That was a big deal with the military's like, you're going to blow up the chemical weapons and then tell them, take their gear off? Well, I'm not going to do that. You're relieved from command. Boom, blow up the command base. Oh, a lucky missile hit a main command base. I mean, because the military's like, we're going to nerve gas everybody? You've got to dispose of that carefully. That's got to be shipped to special incinerators. Do you think anybody's safe with globalists like this? Why would Bayer, knowingly for 11 years, ship out HIV and hepatitis and all their blood products in their Factor 8? Came out in court. They knew and did it. Of course they did. That's manly to them, to kill a bunch of people. Why do they design the GMOs to sterilize you and give you cancer? Because they like killing you. I mean, have you figured that out yet? They don't just not care about killing Hastings. They like it. That feels good to them, to kill people. Don't you? You think groveling to these people who worship the Grim Reaper is going to protect any of you? Better start worshiping the God of life, not the God of death. All those that hate me love death. Jesus Christ said that. I promise we're going right to your calls and a ton of clips straight ahead. Rod, Ship, everybody else, your calls are straight ahead. I'm Alex Jones with Infowars.com. Again, the reason I keep harping on the Camisea base that was blown up and hundreds of others at the end of the Gulf War and the old 60 Minutes shows that came out a few years later and the congressional hearings is that it later came out in memoirs and pieces that Schwarzkopf was angry about it and that a large group of the command was angry about it and that's why Schwarzkopf was relieved from command. But why didn't Schwarzkopf just go further? No, he just shut up and disappeared and let some books be written, but you never really saw him again. And then he'd cry at the parade and all that, and they'd say, we only lost a few hundred troops. Why is he crying all the time? Because he followed orders, just like his dad had done with secret police in Iran. His dad helped train all the torturers and everything after the 53 takeover with the Shah. Schwarzkopf grew up in Iran, grew up in Iraq, grew up in Saudi Arabia. And he was not a truly evil person. Let me tell you, if you're not evil and you're told for whatever reason, blow up a bunch of nerve gas and let it blow into our troops. Now, there it is, USA Today study, wind blew deadly gas to U.S. troops in Gulf War. That was all known. That's USA Today. That was all known, ladies and gentlemen, and Schwarzkopf freaked out about it. Just like they weren't allowed to use DU up until that war. They had DU folks at the end of World War II. You can read the studies. I've had the former head of the Pentagon DU program on probably 20 times, Dr. Doug Rockey. All those famous reports. They said we can't use this because it ignites going out the barrel. It contaminates for billions of years wherever it hits. And they break down how many microns it takes to massively reduce your life expectancy from the toxicity and the radiation. And again, I go off into this before I go to your calls because what happened to the people running our government by 1990? Oh, let's just blow up nerve gas. Well, the weather reports, that'll blow into Iraq, it'll blow into Iran. If it was blown out to sea, it'd still be deadly. That's sarin and VX nerve gas. Those are that's the third biggest stockpile in the world. We sold it to him. We trained him how to use it. He used it on the Iranians. You blow that up, it's going to do it. But the detectors will go off. These discussions all came out in Congress. The detectors will go off. The detectors will go off? Well, so what? Just tell them it's safe. Tell them there's no worry. Tell them there's nothing to worry about. Why would they do that? Why? Because the people running this planet want to kill everybody. They're evil. Why have they thrown, depending on the numbers you look at, 20 plus are on record, reportedly it could be hundreds of military reactors that were thrown into the Atlantic Ocean 100 miles off the coast is where they do it, from Georgia to Alabama all the way up to New York. Why? Why throw reactors into the ocean when you could just take them back and decommission them? Why not throw them into the ocean? The Soviets threw reactors into their lakes. Why? Why do that? Why not? They love evil, folks. They love the devil. Even if you don't believe in the physical devil, what is that? I mean, the guys are in there with their mouths open because they can type in whatever I say, and oh, there's USA Today that they knew nerve gas blew into our troops. Oh, there's articles about throwing reactors. Most of them are off the coast of Georgia. Why? In key fishing grounds. Why? 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 And the naive, childlike public, oh, would they blow up Hastings? Oh, would they kill Aaron Swartz? I'm going to fight this. I'm getting married. I'm feeling great about this. Owns a big, company worth hundreds of millions of dollars. They go to his house and hang him because he was a real guy that cared about a free internet and justice and who'd beaten SOPA and CISPA. More than anybody, he led the fight. So they go into his house and killed him. And see, if Hastings would have talked about how they may kill him, and if Swartz would have talked about it, and if everybody else who's in danger would have talked about it, just like if we talk about false flags, it stops them from being able to do them. Or if we talk about the 2 billion bullets and the 7,000 armored vehicles and Northcom trying to take us on, then there's a debate about it, and the military has a debate about it, and they know it's real, and they say no to it, and then it becomes a big political issue and is a no-no. See, then we have a debate about it. Like a debate about should Snowden be arrested? Is Snowden a traitor? Or is David Gregory a traitor against the free press and a piece of trash? Is Chucky Schumer a traitor and a piece of trash? Is Secretary of State John Kerry a piece of trash? Who's got so much Botox he looks like the dad from the Munsters. He used to be a handsome guy. Looks like a zombie now. These people are a bunch of narcissistic trash holding on to their life so much they're trying to hurt other people. Thank God I'm not a coward, narcissist piece of trash like people like that. Thank God every day I'm not a servile, devil-worshipping trash lover. Thank God I'm not on their side. Thank God I'm not with them. Thank God that I see clearly what they're up to. And that's the other thing. I look at the globalists and what a bunch of unhappy, twisted weirdos they are. And then I read about the Rothschilds and Rockefellers and how screwed up their families are. And they are just unhappy people, so possessed by darkness that when they see you and your healthy, wholesome family, they want you dead. You know why they hate our troops? They know they're the best people in the world. Despite the fact our military has done so much evil, manipulated by the globalists, they know they're by and large the best people we've got. And that they're a danger to these tyrants. And so after every war now, they shoot them up with deadly vaccines. It turned out, folks, the Agent Orange they sprayed, they added a neurotoxin to it, synthetic cobra venom. Don't believe me? I've had Dr. Rocky on. The declassified documents got declassified 4 years ago. They added synthetic neurotoxin to the Agent Orange. It was really nerve gas, and they called it an exfoliant, a defoliator. They were spraying our troops while they were spraying the Viet Cong. Just that, this is so evil. Folks, if you're in the military, the New World Order is killing you with those shots. They're killing you with everything. They hate you. They hate your family. They hate the fact that you're not a coward like them. They also envy your strength. That's why they want to get rid of men and replace it with machines. They're only putting women in frontline combat to screw things up. They're going to destroy the institution of the warrior. They're afraid of you. Because in the spark of the warrior's heart is the defeat of this evil. A real warrior loves the innocent and loves their tribe and loves their society and will lay their life down for their people. And the New World Order is threatened by you. You are a big blaring white light to them in their darkness. They don't like you. They want to extinguish you. And as soon as they can, as soon as it's robots and drones, within 10 years, you're obsolete, you're gone. You're going to be working on the machines. And they're going to line you up and give you shots of things that are actuated so that when you get out of the military, you're going to be debilitated. And then you have to waive your rights to get disability, and then they're going to kill you at the VA. It's a nightmare, but it's a military plan by the globalists, and it's all on record. As horrible as this sounds, it's all on record. All you've got to do is give up your false conceptions, give up the propaganda, check out what I'm saying, and find out all of it's true. I'm risking my life because I don't have a future, and my family doesn't have a future if we don't get out of this together. Let's go to your phone calls. Rod in France, you're on the air. Go ahead.
Hi, Alex. Always a pleasure. Well, this wasn't my original topic, but since you're in that on that topic right now, yeah, the depleted uranium rounds that they use on the. I remember speaking with a colleague of mine at a job I worked at, and he was in the Navy, and he said, they had these Vulcan cannons, these real high-speed cannons on the decks of the ships that would actually fire at incoming missiles at a very high rate of speed, and they would use
Aegis system rounds. Yeah,
exactly. And they would use the DU rounds, and he said those cases would just be all over the place. And I work in the at a particle accelerator, and I know a little bit about this stuff. And the isotopes, the size of the particles from these DU rounds are so small that even with a standard NBC suit, you wouldn't be protected from these, you know, tiny.
Hey, Rod, you
kind
of hesitated on that. So you work at CERN, huh?
Well, no, I'm not at CERN. I'm at SACLE, Synchrotron Soleil. It's a particle accelerator, third generation particle accelerator.
Why do they stop?
I get to meet some interesting people.
Yeah, I bet. Let me stop you there. That's what Doug Rocky said, and that's on record. It's not just that it's radioactive. The particles are so small, unnaturally small, that once they get in your lungs, they just drop through the cells like a knife through butter and just absolutely fry you. Then your lungs try to off them and put them into the bloodstream, and then it kills your kidneys. That's why you have off-the-chart kidney failure in troops.
Absolutely. The isotopes, it's neutronic radiation, and the isotopes that are emitted from those particles are not dangerous if you're at a distance from them. But once you inhale them, you are being constantly radiated.
It's the point-blank range, exactly.
Neutronic isotopes.
It's point-blank in your DNA, is what Dr. Doug Rocky breaks down.
Exactly. Well, I'll go on to the point that I wanted to make. With the, I read an article just here today that was on the Liberty Crier, talking about the Boston Globe saying that the Department of Homeland Security has gone public with an admission that an exercise was planned months before the Boston Marathon bombing that involved backpacks being used to detonate explosives by rogue terrorists.
Yeah, and it was a Patriot group. And see, they were going to blame a Patriot group. They had the guy, they announced it, and then they said, oh, then they had a bomb threat, shut down the building, and never heard about it again. And then they went Plan B and burned some of their patsies. But yeah, no, they were planning the whole time. Turns out the guys they burned were CIA, young guys they set up, young playboys, and they probably had a third or fourth group ready to set up as well. Yeah, pretty amazing that came out.
Yeah, it's amazing, and I think you already covered it once, but I think sometimes it's good to you know, go back and touch on subjects that have already gone by, because we start to lose track with. There's so many scandals going on at this time. I mean, it's literally hard to follow up on stuff because there's just so much news. And
well, and that's what's frustrating about Mad Al or others coming out and saying, how dare I say there was a drill? How dare I say these guys were with the government? I mean, it's in the news. They were sent to CIA training bases, especially the older brother. I predicted they'd kill their friends, and the FBI went and killed their friends. I predicted they'd kill FBI agents that weren't in on it, but were there. They have killed them now. I mean, I said there'll be a drill. There'll be a, and the whole thing came out. I mean, I know their MO. And you're right. It's so frustrating. So are you an engineer there at that cyclotron?
Yes, I am. And I'm actually an engineer and a coordinator there, so I interact between all the people who come in from all over the world, and I've seen some government people come in there quite a few times. And I've spoken with a lot of people from the United States that use our synchrotron. And the political diversity is rather interesting, but that's another story. The next question I want to ask you, if you don't mind, Alex, if you just give me another minute, is the Tsarnaev brothers, you know, the one who's in prison now. Does anybody have any news? Because we've kind of lost. Like I said, it's been lost in the shuffle of all the other things that are going on. Has anybody been able to contact the mother or the father?
I have been contacted by lawyers and some pretty famous people that are trying to help the living brother, and they can't get through the public defender. They can't go through any of it. He needs to get a message out that he wants to be represented by an outside counsel so these people can get a hold of him. But then these people tell me, hold off before I talk about it and give specifics. So there's really nothing I can do. And it's just, I'm so overwhelmed trying to run this operation that I can't really try to then insert myself into the court case. It's kind of like the Boston bomber investigation is just a big black hole. And once the public moves on from something, it's hard to get them to look at it again. That's why right when it happened, we had to come out and say, if there's a drill, if there's a bunch of patsies, they'll be connected to the CIA in foreign exchange programs, yada, 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 so that then all that came out and then people listened. That's what caused that to be such a huge story. We got like 7 times the normal traffic to the radio show and the websites, and it totally freaked the power structure out because we went in and blocked them point blank. And if anything gets me killed, it'll be that. I mean, they are just pulling their hair out. They've turned all their operations against us. Dirty tricks, death threats, hit pieces in the press whenever we did that. So pray for us. God bless you. Good to hear from you. I mean, it is just devastatingly hardcore what's happening. We have a declared war on the free press, a declared war on libertarians and Christians with the NSA and the IRS. And the media is cowering to it. And if we cower, it's over. Speaking of that, I want to go to this Greenwald clip with David Gregory on NBC's Meet the Press, where he says, should Glenn Greenwald be arrested for aiding and abetting Snowden, who exposed illegal spying? He's totally protected. He deserves a medal. And, of course, it's turned out now he's a Ron Paul supporter. And I've been told by people that know him that he's a listener of the show. So, Snowden, if you can ever get through to us, we'd like to have you on the broadcast. Let's go ahead and go to this clip. Here it is.
To the extent that you have aided and abetted Snowden, even in his current movements.
You have aided and abetted the New World Order, Gregory.
Mr. Greenwald, be charged with a crime.
You should be charged. Greenwald should not be charged.
I think it's pretty extraordinary that anybody who would call themselves a journalist would publicly muse about whether or not other journalists should be charged with felonies. The assumption in your question, David, is completely without evidence, the idea that I've aided and abetted him in any way. The scandal that arose in Washington before our stories began was about the fact that the Obama administration is trying to criminalize investigative journalism.
See, they're targeting the press.
Going through the emails and phone records of AP reporters, accusing a Fox News journalist of the theory that you just embraced, being a co-conspirator with felony.
Oh, yeah, they're trying to sell this.
Working with sources. If you want to embrace that theory, it means that every investigative journalist in the United States who works with their sources, who receives classified information, is a criminal. And it's precisely
That's right. They are criminalizing the press here in America, folks. Think about this, and using the NSA and IRS to harass liberty groups. And they're trying to sell the idea now that, oh, we'll arrest anybody we want. We'll arrest the press. I mean, this is an authoritarian government. But the corporate whore press is on such a short leash, they're going along with it. Most of them are going, yeah, let's arrest Snowden. Yeah, destroy the free press. We want to just be lapdogs. And that's why the Pentagon and the CIA and the White House are looking at just robot reporters where they just put in the disinfo and then different articles are churned out by a computer. They won't even need you anymore. You idiots in the press. Here's an example of what I'm talking about. Standing up, letting your voice be heard. All of us doing a little something every day, then the criminals can't threaten and kill all of us. It's common sense. And on that path leads a good future for our children. On the path we're on leads destruction. I know from Rick Linkletter and several other people that Bruce Willis is an off and on listener of this show and has seen my films going back at least 8-9 years. And I know that he gave an interview, I think it was Vanity Fair, and talked about the New World Order and how the same people that killed Kennedy are running things now, and now he's no longer a mainline Republican, that he's woken up. Why talk to Vanity Fair? Why not come on my show? And I'm not even really hitting Bruce Willis up. It's just an example that John Bound out there has hung out with him and played with him and stuff. Why not go public? Why not have your voice be heard? You won't save the world, Bruce, but together we will. Take Mike Judge, been a listener for 18 years. We've been talking off and on the phone for years, finally hooked up, did an interview. Him speaking out against big government and tyranny is not going to save the world, but together it will. Mike Judge. It's just all of us have got to go public. And I know a bunch of other famous people. I'm not calling Bruce Willis out. That's why I get so mad at people like Brad Pitt. Because, I mean, like 3 or 4 times from different high-level people, starting with Aaron Russo. I was told that Brad Pitt was, watching his films, my stuff. He'd hung out with him some. Russo put out a bunch of big movies with Eddie Murphy and stuff, and that he was awake. Well, now look at him running around with UN commercials, running around New World Order. I mean, Brad Pitt knows what's going on and decided to go bat for the other team, folks. And I want to play this clip here. This is Hastings 1 week before his car blew up. Remember, he put out an email saying, I'm going into hiding, they're after me, I'm going to break my biggest story ever, boom, his car blows up. And then we're weird to say he may have been killed? No, it's weird to not have a major investigation of this. This is what he said on the Young Turk show 1 week before his car blew up. And this is the kind of thing that scares the New World Order. Here it is.
The Obama administration has clearly declared war on the press. It's declared war on investigative journalists, our sources. I think the only recourse to this kind of behavior by the government is to say back to the government, we declare war on you, and from this point forward, we should no longer, as a media as a whole, cooperate in any manner with the government in terms of when we're doing national security stories. We should withdraw all our cooperation, and we should publish everything we know, because it's a free press. It's not a free except for when the government tells me to do it press. And we've been way too easygoing with these guys. We've let them get away with this for years. We've let them tell us what to print, what not to print. And I say be done with it, and everybody should just get together and fire
Absolutely.
back. No one else is going to defend the press.
Nobody else is going to defend the press. Now, I'm going to go to break, come back, go to Ship and some other callers. Then I'm going to just blitz through news all over the map. But let me just remind you, we either got to stand together or be run over. I mean, that's basic instinct for survival, basic instinct for liberty. The globalists have sold us on how to be morons and how to be slaves. You don't get ahead acting like a cowardly slave. And it's just time for the press, the media, other talk show hosts, everybody, to really understand your families. None of us have any future if we don't turn this around. It's that simple. Where are you? Playing it safe is what's got us to this point. When everybody plays it safe, folks, the wolves take over. I'm looking for men here to stand up. By the way, if you want to support us, get the new film. You can get a free film with it, American Dream, when you get State of Mind, The Psychology of Control, to wake up your friends and family. I'm in the film. A bunch of other people are in it. Find out more at InfoWarsStore.com. Or call toll-free if you want to ask any questions, or order over the phone, 888-253-3139. That's InfoWarsStore.com. Only place to order it is InfoWarsStore.com. We're the exclusive distributor. Get a PrisonPlanet.tv membership to see the nightly news and all my films, $5.95 a month. That's 11 memberships for one price to share with your friends and family. PrisonPlanet.tv. And spread the word about the broadcast. Next hour coming up. We're going to go to Ship, Brendan, Aaron, Revold, Jared, and others here in just a moment. Then I'm going to get into the issue of national sovereignty, how nations are like firewalls in a building or bulkheads in a ship for water coming in, or firewalls as well. So that if one nation falls to tyranny, you have a chance to run somewhere else. Even though that nation may not be perfect or far from it, they don't have the personal beefs with you, the pogrom they want to carry out. And here's an example. Russia defiant, USA raises pressure. It's not USA doing this. It's the global crime syndicate that seized our nation. And they're so angry that this guy could run to Hong Kong or run to Russia or run to Ecuador. Running from one tyranny to another. Remember the father who had his kids taken for smoking marijuana, the engineer that was a listener? So he tried to run to Cuba, and Cuba turned him back. Cuba loves taking people's kids. But when criminal regimes start fighting with each other, sometimes it gives you a place to escape. You don't want one big unified thing. Whenever that happens, heads are going to roll. It's not a good system. You want diversity. That's why you want 50 states. If one state's totally corrupt, like California, oh, man, I got gun news coming. It's going to be total news blitz. But let's go back to your calls. Ship, thanks for holding. What is your point today, sir?
Oh, well, hey, Alex, man, I just wanted to say what's going on to another Texas brother.
Well, good to have you calling in today, sir. What's on your mind?
Oh, well, not much, man. It's just a lot of conditioning. You know, it's they with this Hastings guy, you know, they're just showing us how brazen that they really are, that they can just say, hey, you know what, we can kill you, pretty much, plain and simple. And that's a scary thought.
Well, I've seen a lot of car bombs and also mafia hits. When this first happened, I went and typed in mafia car bomb and looked at hundreds of photos in Italy and the U.S. and other places, and that's how they do it. Dynamite or C4 under the car or on the dashboard, and that's exactly what it looks like. That's what the witnesses said they saw.
That's so scary, man. And then, you know, to where that we're going is even worse, that we need to band together. We need to have this unified front so that, you know, the truth does not escape and that we just get the message out to everybody. And you're doing a great job, man. Like, I listen to you every day, and you have woken me up. I saw you on Decoded with Brad Meltzer, and I was like, who is this guy from Texas, man? I got to look into him. And you woke me up, man, and I appreciate everything that you've done.
You know, I really should do more mainstream TV. I turned down most of it, but I had two people come to me this morning when I was doing some errands separately saying, oh, I saw you last night or 2 nights ago on History Channel with that show about Masons. Because millions of people watch those every time they air, and then it makes them go find your radio show. You're absolutely right. I need to do more of that because it's having a really good effect. Maybe I should have entertained my own TV show. The problem is I don't have time to do that and the radio properly.
The radio is the key because, yes, you might get a little bit more notoriety and get out, but the people that are at your core are spreading the message for you. And everybody that I can find that, you know, needs information or, you know, kind of open to facts that may not be out there as the mainstream as they are or as they need to be, for that matter. You know, like the Snowden case, that guy, it's insane. I mean, that is just as out there as it could be, and most people are just like, what?
Yeah, notice it's not about the government illegally spying and using it on the press. That's why I love the fact that Greenwald brought that up. That's what we've got to be hammering. It's about how Snowden's a traitor. I mean, everybody knows the government's spying on people. At least people with the brains do. That's all he exposed is, and by the way, it's private corporations. That's what they don't want known, that it's Google and Microsoft. They're all the ones lobbying to have government give them spy contracts for data they're already getting. I mean, all the cable boxes, the Connect boxes, the video game consoles, they're tracking you already. They're just persecuting you. All right, I want to go right back to your phone calls for people that are patiently holding. And then I'm going to get back into NSA whistleblower Edward Snowden goes missing in a bait and switch where they thought he was flying to Cuba. We're going to look at some of the other world news, including political correctness news. Man accused of bias intimidation at concert arrested here in the United States. The Associated Press is reporting. And they're reporting it like it is a good idea. And then I have another story out of the National Post of Canada. Slur forces comic to pay $15,000 for tirade of ugly words against lesbian patron after appeal falls flat. Folks, they're telling preachers they can't read out of the Bible now in Canada. I mean, Canada is an incredible political correctness police state. I mean, what do you expect when you go see a dirty comic? I mean, they make fun of everybody. So that's the kind of news stacking up here. And it says the Justice Department's looking at the man that waved a rebel flag at a concert. Well, I mean, what about all the racist stuff that Hispanics and black folks, vice versa, put out to each other and to whites and back and forth? The government actually promotes all this and then will act as the referee. And that's the political correctness going on. Where, you know, now if you're not for totally open borders, why you're a racist, show your hospitality. Let everybody from the world come here and have their babies free and everything paid for and be above the law to show you're not a bad person. And then people go, but it doesn't make sense. They said I'm against government health care, which is actually written by the insurance companies to rip people off. I'm a racist. And I'm against turning my guns in. I'm a racist. Remember, we heard that during the... And so now it's gotten so bad that even the politically correct are going, how's it racist I don't turn my guns in? It's just a way to guilt you. And it's so incredible now that they've had cases. This reminded me, because I see a caller on the board who says attacked by a black mob, where you see it in local news all over the country where it's so politically correct, groups of black folks beating up mainly whites at fairs and things don't even feel like it's a good thing. These are white people. We're going to beat them up. Just like whites used to think, well, these are black people, so they're inherently bad. We're allowed to get together as a gang and beat them up or hang them. Same brains, same people, different pigment, acting exactly the same way. Because the guilt now with shows like Django and Machete and all this is, whites are inherently bad. You see it everywhere. The white devil, the white is inherently evil. Or the Jew is inherently evil. So Alex Jones is a Jew and secretly lives in Israel. Never been to Israel, though I want to visit. Who doesn't? I mean, that's one of the most incredible places in the world to go see. In fact, that's on my list. I guess if I ever go, I'll be very proud there that I've gone to see, you know, such a historical place. And so that's the great slander. He's a Jew. He's a Jew. He's a Jew. A Jew. Like, oh, no. And you know what? I am Jewish. It's true. I am Jewish. Alex Jones is Jewish. Both my parents are Jewish. My whole family's Jewish. So there you go. I take your slander as an honor. I'm not Jewish. I'd be proud if I was Jewish, but I'm Jewish. There you go. And so it becomes this thing where inherently, because of a color of your skin, I mean, they have African tribes. If the Muslim will kill the Christian, Christian will kill the Muslim, or the animist will kill the Christian. And it's always whoever they want to rob. One group gets together, gets a UN shipment of weapons. The UN goes, okay, go ahead and go slaughter all the Christians. They're the minority. Because of their culture, the Christians were able to build up something working together over the last 500 years in Rwanda. So they became the ruling class. And so you get to kill them all. So we can bring in a UN government. That's blacks killing blacks. But they find a reason to kill each other. Oh, that group, they worship the owl. We worship the lion. So we're going to kill the owls. It's all gang garbage. Crips Bloods. You wear a blue bandana, I wear a red bandana. I'm going to kill you because you wear a different color. People can have the exact same color of skin, have the same genetic background. They will put on a different hat. They'll wear a different... That's what humans do. It's like teams. Cowboys versus the Steelers. Redskins versus the Dolphins. It's tribalism, and the globalists dress us up in the tribalism so that we feel good about each other when we kill each other. And they artificially sit there and manipulate it. And I just can't get over the media saying, the so-called media, ganging up on other members of the press, like Glenn Greenwald, saying he should be arrested for illegal NSA spying that they admit's illegal, that they've been caught doing. And then all he's saying is you're being spied on when Connect admits they're watching you and listening to you, and it goes back to Microsoft. I'm going to get to that after calls. When Apple and Google and AT&T, all of them have patents that are decades old, and they're now doing it, admitting it, and there's bills introduced trying to stop it. The two-way cable boxes, all of it. I've got news on it today. I mean, look at these headlines. Microsoft is behind mystery data center in Iowa. Wired.com. There's another one. Connect may violate proposed "We Are Watching You" legislation in the U.S. brought forward by Congressman Walter Jones. A Republican and Democrat, Mike Campanano. I hope I'm pronouncing that right. A Democrat. Good for the Democrat from Massachusetts. And it goes into that these consoles are admittedly watching and listening to you. I mean, what, are we going to arrest Walter Jones because he's got a bill saying, hey, they're already doing this, let's make it illegal? I mean, he's admitting we're being spied on. Microsoft is the NSA. Apple is the NSA. Google is the mega NSA founded by the NSA. They're not going to let the government run that. It's all for the private groups to have it. Over $100 billion a year, one way or another, going to these systems, building the infrastructure. You pay to be spied on, and they admit they've got hundreds of thousands of analysts to listen and watch and then play this game of, we're not watching you, arrest Snowden, he's a traitor. When in plain view, they're violating the Bill of Rights, the Constitution, the whole 9 yards, and then they want to scare everybody. They'll probably kill him, folks. Or tie him up naked for, months and months till he looks like a concentration camp victim like Bradley Manning, who's another hero. Bradley Manning would sit there and watch him target whole families with drones and make jokes as little kids blown in half would crawl around in the dirt. And he said it was like watching a kid torture bugs with a magnifying glass. He couldn't do it anymore. The guy deserves a Medal of Honor, not to be made fun of all day. Oh, look at him. He's a little gay runt. He deserves everything. I hope they torture that traitor. What, for releasing a bunch of cables with going back 30 years with Henry Kissinger talking about what a criminal he is? Stuff like that? Don't worry, we'll bring down America once we get the police state in place. That's the stuff in the cables. Just shoving us all around, pushing us around. And then they just sit there dominating. Looking at those photos of him weighing like 90 pounds and deathly white with those big, stupid meatheads shoving him around and stuff. You can see those special army sheep dip type contractors. All think they're so tough. Take some more shots, boys. Give your kids some more shots, too. See how tough you are. We'll see how tough you are. We're going to find out how tough you all are. Let's go ahead and go to Brendan in Wisconsin. You're on the air. Thanks for holding.
Hey, Alex. I have one short comment about citizen journalism and then two major points, both related to the subject of keeping Michael Hastings' ideals alive. Regarding citizen journalism, thank you so much for keeping the fact, hammering home the left-right paradigm, the false left-right paradigm, and this supposed tribalism alive. You really nailed it. And actually, if people go back and look at George Carlin's comedy skits since 2000, he was talking about that. And I just wanted to say that the people at GCN and the awesome writers, reporters, producers, and support staff wouldn't be doing that, what they do with you, if they didn't care about truth and freedom. But moving along to the Hastings topic, I'm not a YouTuber, and because I've been told that I have a face for radio and a voice for print, but I did go out over the last 5 days and talk to some of my friends who are technicians, two of whom have worked on Mercedes-Benz for a long time, one of whom is a certified tech with BMW. And I asked them, I just showed them the photos. I didn't say what it was from. And I said, what would cause this to happen? Here are the photos post-crash, during crash, post-crash. Here's the engine. Some people, varying distances away from the crash. And they said that barring basically 70s, like Italian, Fiat Spiders and Alfa Romeos and stuff like that are kind of more loosely bolted together, they said that would require an offset compound collision involving velocities over 100 miles per hour. In other words, if you're on a two-lane highway and you veer, and that would expel an engine and transmission, maybe in older cars. Now we're talking about a really recent top-of-the-line Mercedes. These have crumple zones, crash zones that are designed to absorb the impact and stay in the vehicle and never would be expelled.
I've seen the mechanics everywhere saying car bomb. I mean, he said, they're after me, I'm going into hiding, I've got the biggest story ever on the corrupt government, and he says we're at war with them, and the car blows up. And again, it's all these other deaths. I hear you. Good to hear from you. More calls straight ahead, and then a bunch of news. Aaron, Revolve, Jared, Damien. We'll get to all of you straight ahead. Remember our website. It's Infowars.com. A lot of breaking news right now at Infowars.com. All right, I'm Alex Jones, your host. We're back. I'm going to start getting into news right now, and then when I'm done getting to the top stories that I haven't covered yet and some breaking news, I will go back to your calls. Aaron and Revolve and Jared and Damien, you're up next, and we'll try to get to those quickly. There's an article up at Infowars.com that just went up in the last 30 minutes that shook me up quite a bit because I've seen this told so many times personally, but also I've seen it admitted to by people like Private Bruckheimer. Back in 2003, he came back from Afghanistan and was talking about how they would go into villages and kill every man, woman, and child. And then the Army came out and clarified on Fox News and said, well, that's true, but only in certain villages do we kill everybody. And they tell them, they say, give up or we're going to kill everyone, including your children, which just makes people fight. that much harder. And it shows who the military is. And they're glad that there's record suicides, because that just gets rid of the guys with consciences. And then the evil ones get to be your police chief. So and this is a sifting process. The globalists admit they use wars. And we'll actually punch up on screen for folks the article that's up on Infowars.com, because I want to show this young man to people and get into what exactly happened to him. But he committed suicide, and I wish he wouldn't have done that. I wish he would have committed his life to saving the unborn, committed his life to exposing the globalist. But for a lot of people, it's just too painful, and they kill themselves. And I don't blame them, but it's better to repent and then to say that you're gonna equalize it. And that's the real answer. Again, Saul of Tarsus killed hundreds of Christians and had them fed to the lions, tortured them to death. But then he became one of the great people to stand up for humanity out of that. And that's what you need to do. Do not commit suicide. I don't judge you for it. But you need to understand that your soul says you did bad. You need to make it right by speaking out against it. Let's go over this article here. Iraq vet kills himself. This is up on Infowars.com. I want to ask you all to get this out to everybody. Look at his beautiful fiance. Beautiful model, blonde chick, the whole 9 yards. Well-to-do family, had everything ahead of him. And he joined the military to fight what he believed was Al-Qaeda. And, well, he found out who Al-Qaeda really is. Remember Norman Schwarzkopf, the rest of his life would just break down crying because he knew he nerve-gassed his own troops. They'd say, oh, he's crying. He's such a good guy. He was crying for guilt. Iraq vet kills himself. Schwarzkopf would break down crying if somebody told him what a great job he did, what a hero he was. Because it would bring up, it's like guys I've talked to feel bad when they drive by an abortuary where they paid to have one of their children killed. Years later, when they know it was wrong, they drive by and have this incredible guilt and think about suicide. Why not go and save children? Why not make it right in God's eye and everybody else's and save the innocent? Why not adopt children? Why not they have groups where poor people can have their children adopted, women they're going to have abortions. Why not reverse it? Why not do good? Why not commit your life? But people are so afraid of socially saying no to the New World Order, they just kill themselves. Why not be such a thorn in the New World Order side they are forced to kill you? How about we make the enemy pay? How about we take the country back and put them on trial? How about they die once they've had a jury of their peers? How about you don't die? How about I don't die? How about they die? And I don't even look forward to that. I just want to stop it. Let's read what he wrote here. Iraq war veteran Daniel Somers committed suicide following an arduous battle with post-traumatic stress disorder. By the way, you don't get it as bad if you were doing the right thing. That's been proven. If you believe it was a just war, then it's different. That was caused by his role. People are committing suicide because they don't like being bullies, folks. They think back to what they did. In his role, committing crimes against humanity. That's a quote, according to the soldier's suicide note. Somers was assigned to the Technical Human Intelligence Team in Baghdad, which saw him involved in more than 400 combat missions as a machine gunner in the turret of a Humvee, in addition to his role in conducting interrogations. What were they doing? Gun confiscations, torture, you name it. By people who weren't Al-Qaeda, folks. They were the opposite. They were Shiites trying to defend their country. Somers' suicide note is a powerful indictment of the invasion of Iraq and how it ruined the lives of both countless millions of Iraqis as well as innumerable U.S. troops sent in to do the dirty work of the military-industrial complex. When I come back, I'm going to read to you what he said he did. And, folks, it's kill whole families. And let me tell you, when you shoot up a house and blow little kids in half for no reason, you will do one of three things. One of three things. I'm going to tell you what those three things are right after this quick break. Read the story, Infowars.com. All right, your calls, again, are coming up. I need to finish up with a few top stories before I do that, then we'll go back into news. So, Iraq vet kills himself after being ordered to commit war crimes. Why are U.S. troops, active duty troops, killing themselves at over sevenfold any previous record into the Vietnam War? Why are they doing it? It's a cocktail of reasons. They're putting them on Prozac-type serotonin reuptake inhibitors that say on the insert make you commit suicide. Why are they going psycho and killing people? It says it does that. Don't give it to people that are under stress. I mean, it says it on the insert. It's like a pancake box says this makes pancakes. Serotonin reuptake inhibitors make crazy people. But that's good. It makes the public go more crazy. Now mental health gets more money. Problem, reaction, solution. But for a lot of these people that come from good families and good upbringings, they get into peer pressure and they do all this stuff. And let me tell you, folks, your brain says kill yourself. You're bad for humanity. Now, people that don't, they get promoted into the CIA and they get to put, bombs under the car of Rolling Stone reporters. Or they get to go into white slavery rings. And it's all fun for them. It's a great, great new future. And we're taught, bow down to them. So nobody stands in their way. But continuing, Somer's suicide note is a powerful indictment of the invasion of Iraq and how it ruined the lives of both countless millions of Iraqis as well as innumerable U.S. troops sent in to do the dirty work of the military-industrial complex. And remember, it's a death sentence to use DU weapons. You're all dead already. You're going to die earlier because of this. You're going to have deformed kids. What are you, 4 times more likely as a U.S. service person to have deformed kids, and they tie in all the people that haven't even been in country? Why would the elite do that? Because they're into death. The worst of the worst get into power now. It's a sacrament to their God to do this, folks. Now let's read what he had to say in his suicide note. The simple truth is, during my first deployment, I was made to participate in things, the enormity of which is hard to describe. Oh, we know. Going into somebody's house and killing their baby. Just don't get caught. War crimes, crimes against humanity, he wrote. Though I did not participate willingly and made what I thought was the best effort to stop these events, there are some things that a person simply cannot come back from. Oh, yeah, we know what they did. I don't know if his unit did that, but let's just say there's a lot of people like to rape kids. I take some pride in that actually, this is very powerful what he says, I take some pride in that actually, as to move on in life after being part of such a thing could be the mark of a sociopath in my mind. So he goes on to say that, you can't come back from something like this, and I'm not a sociopath. These things go far beyond what most are even aware of. Well, yeah, you're not in the club unless you like to kill babies. Let's continue. Up close, though. Somer's death. Somers also complains about how he was forced to participate in the ensuing cover-up. Yeah, Pat Tillman didn't like that too much either, so you know what they did to him. Somer's death serves to refocus attention on the fact that the military veterans are committing suicide in droves after being afflicted with PTSD. That's just a cover for it, folks. They're afflicted with conscience as a direct result of committing atrocities while in combat. As Somers highlights in his note, 22 military veterans commit suicide every day. Amongst active duty soldiers, more than 1 a day commit suicide, a figure that surpassed the number of U.S. troops killed in combat in Afghanistan. And according to some experts, the military may be undercounting the problem because of the way it calculates the suicide rate, reports the New York Times. Examples of atrocities added directly or indirectly by U.S. troops in Iraq include, let's go over these, orders to slaughter all military-age men during some operations, torturing detainees, many of whom have never engaged in combat and were totally innocent, at grisly prison camps across the country. Raping and torturing children at the infamous Abu Ghraib detention facility while they shrieked in terror. Yeah, with battery acid. They raped them with battery acid, I should add. Women forced to watch, later begged to be killed. Sodomizing detainees with chemical lights and broomsticks. Well, they ought to get a job on the New York PD or the Chicago PD. It's a new article about the cops sodomizing innocent people with rifles. Indiscriminately firing upon and killing journalists and children. What do you mean? They killed Reuters journalists? They ordered them, aim the tank at the journalist building, kill the Reuters reporters. Massacring entire groups of unarmed Iraqis, including children and the elderly. This is what brought me to my actual final mission. Not suicide, but a mercy killing, wrote Somers, adding that him living any kind of ordinary life is an insult to those who died at my hands. Read Summers' full Suicide Night Below, obtained by Gawker and published with his family's permission. I want his family on. Well, I gotta say that I know why he did what he did, but I wish I could have talked to him before he killed himself. Because I've got a mission for you. I got a mission for you. Don't kill yourself and take the easy way out. Commit yourself to fight evil. But I do respect what you did. But it's wrong to see men that have conscience kill themselves while the people that gave the orders and run the whole stinking mess move forward. And they're not just killing the Iraqis, folks. They take people's children and they brain damage them by design. They know full well the vaccines are brain damaging. They're designed to do it. We have a government, thousands of declassified operations, nerve gassing, bioweaponing, chemical weaponing, all of it, U.S. towns and cities in test, just to see if they can get groups to do it. This is their religion. This is what they're into. Our government is occupied by the globalists. And the only reason I'm still alive is because of the fact that they know if they kill me, what I've said is so true and so hardcore accurate that it will only magnify everything I've done. And they still may kill me. And I talk a lot about that because I want you to understand if they do kill me, I'm willing to do this. I'm more than willing. This is a great honor. And I don't understand why these people are killing themselves. You need to ask God to give you a comfort so you're no longer in pain over this, but to give you a drive and a passion. You know, let's say, Summers, let's say you killed in 400 missions, let's say you killed 10 children. Probably more than that. Let's say you watched as they, raped and tortured women and, did the type of things they do to them. It's unspeakable. Because the worst in the group always leads. Let's say you witnessed all that. I mean, you say you witnessed things like that. Why don't you go and hand out literature in front of abortion clinics explaining that there are groups and organizations. You see those billboards up all over the country? That's just one group that says, abortion, thinking about abortion, pregnant, thinking about abortion. There is help. There are options. And there are Christian groups that'll pay for you to have a nice place while you have the baby and money after. Because they know there's more people wanting kids, black, white, it doesn't matter. Oh, nobody wants the black babies. That's not true. I want to make sure the black babies die. There are people lined up around the block to take care of people. And they're ready to pay you, not to go have some dirty $500 abortion, where it doubles your chances of ovarian and other cancers. No, they're going to tell you at Planned Parenthood, that's run by a eugenicist on record, that's waiting. You can go and, just like Ebenezer Scrooge, I want every member of the military out there that's been involved in evil and who has a soul and is tortured about it. You think you're going to get out of this easy? God's not going to let you get out of this easy. Don't be a coward. You don't blow your head off. That's easy to do. I respect your decisions when you make it, but it's wrong. You have a job to do, just like Ebenezer Scrooge. You've got to counterbalance everything you've done. You've got to go out and help people. You've got to go out and help people not commit abortions. You've got to go out and go join the Salvation Army, one of the only few good charities left out there, and go dedicate your whole life to helping people. That's what we have to do. You should go down and warn every person you meet that fluoride is going to brain damage them and massively hurt their children. When I see people, we all just calmly sit there drinking iced tea with fluoride water in Austin, and we all just calmly do it because we're just accepting it, and the cell phone radiation and all the rest of it. We've got to go out and help people and warn people. And you're going to find that once you start doing it, you're not counterbalancing anything. Once you make that change in your heart, you're going to be forgiven by God. And all that you're going to be given after that is The total commitment, and you're going to be serving a mission you were born to serve. That's why you joined. You believe the lie you were going to fight for good when America is captured by a group that makes Hitler look tame in their sophistication. But now you need to join the real army. There's a reason they want you dead. There's a reason they want to give you vaccines and damage you. There's a reason they say veterans are the #1 terror threat. Because they know that you know what you did was wrong. They know that you are struggling if you have a conscience. And they know you could be turned towards good fully. And once that self-powering engine turns on, you will be a great leader. But you've got to ask God a simple prayer to lead, guide, and direct you and to overtake your entire body, mind, and soul. You have to say, I, under free will, turn myself over to God to be good. I turn myself over now. Don't let the human, don't let the flesh in you think that you've got to figure out how it's going to happen. The doors will open. You've got to say, I've been bad. I repent. Wash me clean. Help me. The reason the Christian churches are dying and falling apart is because they don't tell you the rest of the story to go out and wake people up and go out and help people. They tell you, just feel good and stay here and worship the government. That's a government-run church, even though the preacher may be a good man. You have to ask God to throw you against the enemy. And then God will do it. If you ask God, use me against these evil people, God will rise you up, will raise you up. It may be small things. It may be taking care of your children. It may be not fighting with your wife. It may be just simply helping your neighbors out. Just not committing suicide defeats the New World Order. And if you turn your face towards God, I talk to so many of these soldiers that are planning to commit suicide, and they just say, I don't believe in God. There's no way God would allow things like this to happen. We allowed this to happen. We were given free will, and we decided to serve evil. We decided to believe the deceptions. So stop committing suicide and stop destroying yourselves. Stop killing yourselves, you know, drinking a bottle of whiskey every night. And I'm not judging you. All of us can get better, and we've got to do it together because the New World Order doesn't have any conscience. Their only instinct is to hurt innocent people. So don't ever think you're just going to commit suicide and get out of this. Don't think God's just going to forgive you when you blow your brains out or take sleeping pills. You've got an accounting to make. You've got work to do to reprieve yourself. And in that lies the secret to defeating this evil. You will be so alive once you commit to good. Once you've proven yourself to God. Once you've gone through adversity, as you've already gone through, and used that adversity. These were tests for you. You know you failed this round. You can win the next round. But you've got to commit. Let's go to a phone call. Let's go to Aaron, then we'll go to Revolve. Go ahead, you're on the air. Thanks for holding from Texas.
Amen, Alex. My name's Aaron, and my pastor asked me yesterday what I was looking for in a pastor, and I told him I'm just looking for a fearless warrior of God who does not pussyfoot around with a 501c3 like James David Manning does. And I just want to invite you and your crew to our Abolish the IRS event. It's this Saturday with Joe Bannister, he's ex-IRS agent, Sherry Peel Jackson, and Tom Selgis. And I also wanted to mention Terry Lakin, who was court-martialed for and sentenced to 6 months in Fort Leavenworth for requesting the proof of Obama's citizenship. You know, Mike Zullo from Sheriff Joe Arpaio's Cold Case Posse, he'd be a great guest for your Prison Planet TV night.
I think we tried to get him on. Let's try to get him on again. There's no doubt that the providence of Obama is a fraud. I want to say this about Pastor Manning. I think he has a lot of courage. A lot of people set up their church before they know about 501c3. The paperwork's all set. Everything's in that name. You would never. It's very hard to get it out of it. I don't want to judge people. I think we should judge the churches that are 501c3 and promote New World Order garbage. It's one thing if you're 501c3 in a government-run charity, but you really still tell the truth and ignore. I mean, they're telling pro-life groups they have no free speech. I mean, that's an illegal order. It's a fraud. Everybody just needs to say no. And the churches are starting to do that. And I'm not slapping you down saying that about Pastor Manning, but I think, you know, Pastor Manning has a lot of courage. But I understand, you know, your point about people. Here's the issue. A church that knows this stuff and doesn't fight tyranny in 501c3 is terrible. But if you fight in tyranny and have to be 501c3, then, you know, what's the issue? Because on paper, you're a government church, but in spirit, you're not. Whereas, you know, a lot of these churches act like, there's some that aren't 501c3 that act like on paper they're not a government church, but they really are. I mean, really, God judges the heart, not the paperwork. You know what I mean?
Right, and he has a 501c3, but he knows he has a First Amendment, too.
I hear you. Well, I bet if people give him enough financial support to make the transfer over and do all that and, you know, have half the money he's got cut away from him because they'll start not letting it be tax exempt. I mean, you know, the guy feeds hundreds of kids every day there in Harlem. And so, again, churches shouldn't have to pay taxes anyways. Why do you have to become a government charity to do it? Congress shall make no law respecting an establishment of religion or prohibiting the free exercise thereof. The bigger issue is we let the criminal IRS go around and shake down preachers that won't go under their government control, forcing them into a contract. It's like the mafia going, sign this paper or I'll shut your church down. It's our fault, my fault, for letting the criminals do that. So I stand up against those criminals. God bless you. I hear your point and hope people come to your rally. All right, we're going to go to Revol, I think is how you say it, on the other side. Then we're going to go to Jared and Damon and JB. And I've got to get to all this other news, so I'm going to overdrive. I haven't gotten into the audio of the bureaucrat says water complaints could be an act of terrorism. Police busting into people's houses over uncut grass. I've got a bunch of other news about political correctness gone crazy. It's all coming up. I'm Alex Jones, your host, Infowars.com. In the official radio broadcast, we'll do some overdrive into the next hour at Infowars.com/show. Revol, I think, in Pennsylvania, you've been holding patiently. What you calling about today?
Hello?
Yes, welcome. You're on the air.
Hi, my name is Revel, not Revel.
I'm sorry. Revel, got it.
Yeah, Revel. Okay, what you were talking about before where people, rather than commit suicide, they should find something to stand up for, like work in the societies. And my story that I want to tell you about made me realize that there's a silhouette that I don't think anybody's acknowledging enough, the responsibility of the individual towns and cities, because the New World Order definitely are winning, overtaking us, and we need to stand up. But we also need to come together as communities, because if we don't, which what they're doing is they're going to divide us. They've been dividing us, but they're going to do it more and more because they don't want us standing together, right?
I agree. Tell us what happened.
Well, this leads to a touchy subject of racism. Okay, I live in a small town. We have one taxi to tell you how small it is. And the reason I choose small towns to live in is because I don't want to deal with crime, and I figure there's limited crime in a small town. I go to the store. I call a taxi. I live 2 miles outside of town. I'm going to the store. I go to the store. I come back with the taxi. On the way back, and I couldn't even believe this was happening, 15 kids, teenage black kids, just bombarded our van, the taxi van that I was in. Just overtook it. One kid stood right in front of the van, pointed right at us as if, you know, like you ain't going nowhere until I move.
And then I get out with a handgun and anybody physically assaults me, and people are going to get shot. Yeah, see, that's why the system doesn't want the Second Amendment. Yeah, that's happening all over the country because they have promoted such incredible reverse racism. See, political correctness, they used white racism in certain areas to dominate and have tyranny, but when white Christians mainly got up and said no to it, like Charlton Heston, then they flipped and went, okay, but still they use the race game, Democratic Party, and it is promoted in a lot of rap and hip-hop. It's in the news to go out and kill a white person. You know, they've had the black group down in Houston come out and say, you know, don't mug in the black area, go kill whites. And so it's a sacrament now to do that, and it's a religion. And it's terrible this is being done on purpose. And I've seen articles in the news where the paper goes, after the third attack, we're forced to report and we apologize. But 9 black youths attacked our reporters and blah, 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 or such and such. And it's like, we're so sorry. And you notice the media, whenever they won't say the race of a person attacking, that means they were black or Hispanic, because they can only say the race if it's a white person. And that's done to keep the attacks going. And these kids think it's good to attack a white person because you're inherently a bad person. And again, it's wrong when groups of white youth would get together 60, 70 years ago or whatever. Still happens. I mean, take the Klan guys that drugged a black guy to death in Texas. Then a year later, a white guy was going down the road, and some blacks drug him to death. That didn't even make news. In fact, the news said, we will not cover this. And they did it because we're getting you back, as if the white wino knew anything about it. And it was the same thing. They killed a black wino, and then they killed a white wino. But the black wino mattered, the white wino didn't. Because you can't have it. Racism can only be white. So how did this end?
Well, he jumped out of the van. We started driving away.
Okay, so what happened?
They started throwing rocks at us. They threw over 30 rocks at our van.
Yeah, well, anybody gets in front of my car throwing rocks, they're going to get run over. So, I mean, look, this is going to happen. Whites, on average, are the most cowardly, pathetic, politically correct people. You were supposed to just crap on yourselves and beg people to slit your throats. That would have proven you were politically correct. You should have got out, stabbed yourself in the throat, saying, I'm bad, I'm bad. That would have been the right thing to do. Ladies and gentlemen, the NFL promotes anti-gun garbage. Now they're going to promote Obamacare officially for the government. It is now the ultimate brainwashing tool. Boycott the NFL. Let them know, knock it off. Jim Carrey pulls out of promoting his own movie over gun violence. I guess all those videos exposing what a hypocrite he is actually got to him. Well, good job, Carrey. Now why don't you talk about all the military violence, you hypocrite? Instead of letting people protect themselves and defend themselves. I'm going to cover this on the nightly news tonight. Who's doing the news tonight? I think I'm going to shoot a special video on that. Wow, so much to get to. You know, there's a lot I haven't covered that I'll have to cover at the start of the show tomorrow. It's just amazing. But I think we've had an important broadcast so far. Let's talk to Jared in Texas. Jared, you're on the air. You're on the air. What do you want to talk about?
Hey, what's going on, Alex?
Worldwide transmission.
How's it going, Alex?
Worldwide transmission.
Hey, I just want to talk to you about Dr. Stephen Greer. Have you heard of him?
It rings a bell. Is it like Disclosure Project or something?
Yes, there you go. Good. Yeah, he funded that. He pretty much is the father of that. I really think you should have him on the show, man. The reason why is because he's actually on this in the same battle with you, just on a different front. Because he's actually battling for the free energy devices that are out there that could change the world as we know it. I mean, and not only that, like, I heard that there's other. I don't know if you heard of his documentary, Serious, but you should really check out the trailer or check that out, because it has a lot of information about what I'm talking about.
All right, I'll check into it. Look, I hear a lot of disinfo on the whole free energy movement. There's some real stuff out there, but then all the exaggeration hurts it. And then also all this alien stuff. I've seen no proof of it. And I just can't even get people to admit there's an NSA, much less little green men. I mean, I talk about weather weapons existing because it's on record, and then they go, Alex says Obama sent the tornado. You know, it's just that the public... I'm trying to just get him to wake up to the whole New World Order takeover, but I hear you. We probably should get Greer on. I hear he's very interesting. Damien in Arizona, go ahead. You're on the air.
Yeah, how you doing, Alex? Yeah, I'm calling to discuss Jordan Elise, that's Hastings' widow, and Cenk Uygur, which you had on from the Young Turks, Amber Lion. They all sort of ran the same circles, and I was wondering if you'd be able to have Cenk on again to challenge.
Yeah, no, I told my 4 bookers, I got 4 people to go after guest. I said I'd like to get his wife on, and so I'm sure they've tried to contact her.
Yeah, Jordan Elise is actually very interesting. You probably know this already, but she used to be a staffer, chief aide for Condi Rice, but she has always been publicly very favorable to Dr. Ron Paul, and she and Hastings never said anything bad about Ron Paul publicly. They always supported his foreign policy.
Well, I mean, look, she needs to come on this show or get on another show, because they'll kill her, too. And if she's got more evidence, they need to get it out. I mean, he was on the run when they killed him, and a lot of times widows will get so scared by something that they'll shut up. But absolutely, we need to get her on, and I'm told we're trying to get her on.
might be slightly of a tipping point because it's clear now, beyond any shadow of a doubt, for sort of the, quote unquote alternative media, they're targeting media personality right now. So I think Chuck Yeager, who you had on, and you directly challenged him. I said, you're a father, you know what's going on, but you're not willing to go that far. So look at this info. Your friend is dead now, so why wouldn't you? And also I think you should do one of those. Only you can do this, Alex. You do these great culture jamming. I think you should call up a Mercedes-Benz, and his car was, I think, a 250 coupe, which is, kind of like premier, entry-level car. To get them on record, call their engineering department and be like, listen, they're saying that your car's engine...
Exactly. Make an issue out of their exploding gas tanks, because all the engineers are saying that's basically impossible. And then say, oh, exactly, make a controversy and make Mercedes come out. Well, the big German insurer tried to not pay out on the collapse of the towers and looked at explosives, but was basically then paid off to shut up. So that's a great point. Yeah, absolutely. We need to call Mercedes-Benz. I got a whole room of reporters right here. Got a whole room of reporters down there. I got to go find a reporter and say, you do it. But we'll get on that. That is a great idea. All right. Retransmission starts now. Infowars.com/show. Sorry, the other callers.